get a nice win against who do they play tonight? The Portland Trailblazers. They're now 2-0 in their group and in the in-season tournament. Let's talk about it. It's the Hoops Nerd Show. All right, guys, but before we get into this, let's talk about Prize Picks, our sponsor. Make sure, if you haven't already, to go to Prize Picks, use promo code HoopsNerd to sign up. You put down $5, they will match you $5. They will match you up to $100 just by using promo code HoopsNerd. It's a lot of fun. It's great. It supports the channel. Go do it. I would appreciate it. All right, let's talk about this Jazz win. Really nice win for this Utah Jazz team against a Portland Trailblazers team that's better than you probably think. They've been without Scoot Henderson for a game or two, and they were without him tonight, but we got a good look at Shaedon Sharpe, who looks really solid for them. That team has some real talent on it. Let's see. Let's shrink me, and let's get this going. All right, so we'll talk about the in-season tournament, but let's talk about this game first. Let's see. The Utah Jazz... Oh my gosh, I have the wrong one up. Sorry, guys. Anyways, they get a nice win tonight against the Portland Trailblazers. It was impressive. The Jazz are now 2-1 in their games where Keyonte George is starting, and it has really changed some things for this team. Let me pull up the stats just so we can go through it. But that's really the big change. And one thing it's doing is it's opening things up for everyone. My gosh, I did not get this up before the show started. This was stupid of me. Let's see. Let's go here. Bring this up. Oh my gosh. There we go. All right. So like I said, they've had Keyonte George starting 2 of the last 3 games, and he has been absolutely awesome for this Jazz team and has opened things up for this entire starting unit for the Utah Jazz. Jordan Clarkson looks like a different player. In fact, I want to look at Jordan Clarkson in these last 3 games. Tonight, he obviously has just a monster night, scoring 30 points for the Jazz on 13 of 19 shooting. Impressive stuff. But let's go to the last 3 and just see how he's doing, because something tells me he's doing really well. So against the Memphis Grizzlies, let's see, Jordan Clarkson scores 26. That's in game 2 with Keyonte George starting. And then you go back one more, Jordan Clarkson, 33. So 33 plus 26. In fact, let's just bring up the old calculator live. Let's do this together. 30 plus 26 plus 33. Divide that by 3. Jordan Clarkson is averaging 29 points per game since Keyonte George has started. It's starting to not look like a coincidence. It's starting to look pretty fantastic for this Jazz team to have a point guard on the floor that is so efficient. And the fact that Keyonte George is this poised and this smart with this level of vision as a rookie, to the point where you feel like it is so much better when Keyonte George is on the floor, is wild. This is not normal. I wrote about it on SLC Dunk. You can go read about it, but I compared Keyonte George to Keyonte George's first 2 starts to other stars and all-stars and Hall of Fame players and their first 2 starts. And guess what? In every single one I compared, he had the best assist to turnover ratio. It's actually kind of wild what he's doing. This is historical stuff that Keyonte George is doing. It's fantastic that he's this good already. Now, you just hope he can keep it up, but nothing I'm seeing, and maybe you let me know in the comments, nothing I'm seeing makes me think anything is going to get worse. If anything, it's going to get better. We saw a little bit more scoring from Keyonte tonight. Scores 15 points, 7 assists, and like we said, just 2 turnovers tonight. When you have that level of scoring and assists, and then at that low turnover rate, that's elite play. So you should not be surprised when the Jazz are doing this. Car Wash Channel, you're amazing. $4.99, my man. You come in every night lately with these donations, and I appreciate it a ton. Let's go, Jazz. Win 4-7 and 2-0 in the in-season tournament. Absolutely. By the way, Car Wash, if you just want to be in the chat, just join the channel. Anyone who wants to be a part of chat, just join the channel. You can join the rookies if you want, and you can be in the chat. It's free. Well, it's not free. But it's to join rookie, and you get to be a part of the chat, and it's a way to support the channel. And then you don't have to do donations to get on there, my man. But If you want to donate, I will take it. I appreciate it a ton. $4.99 is super generous, so thank you, my friend. So anyways, we talked about that. Let's I want to bring up before we go too far. I just want to see where we were before tonight in the standings in terms of defense and offense. Oh my gosh, I clicked the wrong thing. So I'm going to go, let's see. Let's go stats here. Let's bring up the Jazz. I just want to see their offensive and defensive rankings. Sorry, this is live. I should have brought this up. I didn't because all right. This is going so slow, this stupid site. I'm hitting stats and it keeps going to standings. All right, here we go. See all scores. What in the world? Why am I clicking that? Why is it saying scores when I want to go to the stats? This is crazy. The site is broken. NBA, fix your site. And now I forgot what I was even looking at. Oh, teams. Let's go. Hurry. I want to do this. I want to get this up. So look, we're going to go to advanced and just look at our. So look. So this is before tonight, so we won't see. But the Jazz had a monster offensive night, but they've been improving offensively every game. Look at that. The Portland Trailblazers, the worst offense in the NBA right now. Diego Figueroa, welcome to Rookie. Everyone welcome. Everyone welcome. Diego to the channel. Welcome to Rookie. Keyonte George like Rookie. Car Wash channel, another $1.99. Do you have member link? I'll join for sure. So just go down here on the channel. It should say, just go to the channel homepage and it should say join there and just hit join. And then you can choose one of the levels. And that's amazing. Portland Trailblazers, worst offense in the NBA. The Utah Jazz, this was before tonight, number 15. So still middle of the road. But after tonight, you can bet it's going to improve. And one thing that's hurting this Jazz team is the turnovers. They're going really badly. The thing that's going so bad for Utah now, also, before tonight, defensive rating. Look at that. Minnesota is the number one defense in the NBA, and it's actually not close. Look at that. That's crazy, next to Boston. By the way, Boston's really good. Utah stays at 27. That defensive rating might jump a little bit after tonight, holding the Portland Trailblazers to under 100 points. Probably not that surprising considering they're literally the worst offense in the NBA. So maybe we shouldn't pat ourselves on the back too much for that. But still, it's better than having the worst offense in the NBA do well against you, kind of like what happened with the Chicago Bulls. Things are improving with this Jazz team. Now, I think they're a little bit more middle of the road than they are elite, like we're kind of hoping. But I do think this Jazz team is going to continue to improve as the season goes along, especially with Keyonte George running the show. All right, so you know what? Before we go to players, let's just talk about in-season tournament. The Jazz are, look at this, they are number 1 in their bracket in the in-season tournament. So Utah is now 2-0 at the top. Could you imagine if the Jazz go to the in-season tournament and they're not even in a playoff position and win the in-season tournament? That would be amazing. But right now, 2-0. They now have Phoenix and LA. So they won the games they should have. Now they're going up against tough teams in Phoenix and LA, the Lakers. And I think they can win those games. Why not? I mean, they got smoked by Phoenix the first time they played them, so it can only get better, right? And then the Lakers, we'll see how the Jazz do. But if the Jazz continue to improve, I think you could see, I don't know, why not? Why can't the Jazz make it to the tournament? That would be a lot of fun. Some people have asked, who makes it to the tournament? Well, there's different group plays, and I was looking at this. I was looking at this instead of pulling up my regular stats, so that's what screwed me up. But 8 teams advance to the knockout rounds. The team with the best standing in group play games plays in each of the 6 groups, and 2 wild cards. The team from each conference with the best record in group play games that finished second in its group. So, does that mean how many groups are there? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 8 teams total. It's an entire NBA thing, and then 2. I wonder if there's a wild card from each side. The team from each so 1 wild card from each conference, and the 4. Let's see, the 3 winners of their brackets, and then the team with the best record that didn't win their bracket. That is the one that will go to Vegas for the in-season tournament. I think the Jazz definitely have a shot. They certainly have done well so far, being 2-0 in their group. And look at this. The points matter as well. Utah has a plus 22 differential. So these games matter. And tonight we saw, I saw it mentioned in the chat, fights going on. I think mostly because Draymond is an unhinged weirdo, absolutely crazy, bonkers behavior from this guy that needs to be suspended for like 10 games. The guy is out of his mind. Crazy town. If you haven't seen it, go online, but he tried to choke Rudy Gobert. Pretty crazy stuff. Ben, welcome to Rookie. Welcome to Rookie Ben. Another Keyonte George on our hands, supporting the channel. Welcome to the chat. Everyone welcome Ben. Everyone welcome Diego to the Hoops Nerd channel. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it a ton. All the donations, the members joining, it means a lot. So thank you so much. Anyways, that's how the in-season tournament works. It's a lot of fun. I don't know, Car Wash Channel, another $1.99. If you need, I'll send you the link. If you go to I actually think in the description in the video, if you go down, it links to it, I believe. So check the description or one of the other videos. You can do it after the show if you want. It should be there. So anyways, fantastic stuff for Utah to win this game. They beat a pretty bad team in Portland, but they played pretty well. And it's at the beginning of the year. So a team like Portland right now, before they're trying to tank, is actually trying. They're actually playing hard before they start really losing out, and they may just tank the rest of the season, trade off some guys. So this is a nice win. Do not take for granted wins at the beginning of the year, because this is when teams are trying. It's when teams don't know how bad they are. It's when players are trying to prove themselves. Vets are playing. So wins are wins. They are not. This is a good win for Utah. A win is a win. Let's just go through this. I know the numbers don't look great for shooting, but Ochai Agbaji looked nice for Utah. I'm just hoping for this three-point shot to really start falling. That's the thing that if he can just get that, it's going to improve. Some guys, it takes a little bit. Who is the guy on Indiana? He just got a contract. I'm going to look it up just because I want to. But he's a guy that I thought would be just a lights-out shooter to start, and then it took a little bit. Where is it? Aaron Naismith. He was a guy that was the best shooter in his draft. He comes to Boston and just doesn't really figure it out. The shot, he doesn't get a lot of minutes. It takes him some time. I believe he was also an older player, kind of like Ochai Agbaji. And now he's just hitting shots like crazy. He defends hard, and he's playing really well for Indiana. That was a nice pickup for them, and he earned himself a contract. I think Ochai is going to be a similar thing. You just need to see that shot start to fall, because everything else is so good. He moves the ball. He actually handles it pretty well. He cuts to the basket. He'll block shots. I mean, tonight he had 1 block shot, 2 steals. I mean, he's probably one of the best shooting guard shot blockers we've seen in a while, especially for the Jazz. I think Calvin mentioned that. Really nice point. I mean, he's just a good athlete that does so many different things and uses his athleticism so well to help the team win. And so it's nice to have him on the floor. It'll be interesting to see when Walker Kessler comes back what happens. But I sure hope that Ochai gets a chance, and it's going to be a tough decision for this team. My guess is Ochai goes back to playing off the bench, but I do think that he plays better when he's with better teammates because he's kind of an off-ball player. I was thinking about this before the game, and I think the way I would describe Ochai Agbaji as a player would be as like a free safety in the NFL, or safety. I'm not a football guy, so I don't know everything, so don't rag on me. But you could argue that safeties in the NFL, probably not one of the most important positions. You could argue one of the least important positions. But having an athletic safety on the field with like an athletic and dominant corner all of a sudden changes things, because then they can do more stuff. Then they can use their athleticism. They can go to the line and help with the linebackers. They can go back and help double team. They can do all sorts of different things, and it elevates the player. And that's kind of what I think with Ochai Agbaji. When he's on the floor with players that aren't moving the ball, when he's with like a Sexton or a THT that just doesn't have an ability to run an offense, kind of like Keyonte George does, it's just not the same, and his abilities kind of diminish because it's based off of who he's playing with. But when you put him on the floor with a high-level point guard like Keyonte George, and yes, high-level point guard, I'm not mincing words, he's fantastic, all of a sudden you start seeing him play better and do more things. Look at this, 8 rebounds, 2 steals. That's what you want. And he's not worried about getting his. He's worried about winning games and making plays. And so that's one thing I love about Ochai Agbaji. And once that three-point shot starts falling, then all of a sudden he's earning a pretty nice contract for Utah, because it's just hard to find guys that are 6'5", 6'6" like he is as athletic as he is and who can shoot the ball and defend and just do everything he does. They don't grow on trees. You have to draft them. And the Jazz got him in that trade with Cleveland. What a fantastic pickup. If they can just get that shot to get more comfortable. We'll find out. Let's see. Someone mentioned it. Only 12 assists. Ben coming in hot as a rookie. Only 12 turnovers for the Jazz. I was going to mention this. Thank you, Ben, for bringing that up. Only 12 turnovers for Utah. And we looked at this before. The Utah Jazz. Let's see if we can pull this up quickly. Play type. Oh, I might not. I was looking at this. Okay, let's try tracking. If it's not here, then we will. Just move on. Oh, passing. I believe it was on here. Oh no. It's not. Anyways, I'll find it some other time. We're wasting time. The Jazz are the worst team in the NBA in turnovers. They're averaging like 18.2 last time I checked per game, and it's the worst in the NBA. The best was like 11 or 12 per game. I can't remember who it was. And then Ben just mentions it, 12 turnovers per game. That is an elite performance of not turning the ball over. If you're turning the ball over like 10 to 12 times, that's some of the best stuff in the NBA. That's elite stuff. And so it's nice to see this Jazz team start to do that. They're actually holding on to the ball. And it feels like with Keyonte George starting, more of these players are finding their rightful place in the offense. Jordan the GOAT best roll, 199. Thank you, Jordan. Why is TJT playing over Chris Dunn? That's a good question, and maybe we can dissect that a little bit. I think Chris Dunn has been exposed a tiny bit, and I think Chris Dunn's really nice to have on your team, to be on that bench and come in and play defense and things like that, but he has struggled this year. I mean, as much as THT has struggled, Chris Dunn has as well. His turnovers have been terrible. He has not been able to hit that little floater that he does, and the playmaking hasn't quite been there. So you're really playing him for defense, but then he just hasn't really been able to be impactful offensively. And I don't know if he's really fit in with the offense very well. And so I would say that's probably why. Although, you could argue that THT and Colin Sexton have turned the ball over at a high level, and it just needs to get better. So speaking of turnovers, before we go on, we only had 12. Who were the biggest culprits tonight? Keyonte had 2. Kelly Olynyk had 3. Colin 2. THT 2. So I guess if Keyonte only has 2, then we're not going to rag on Sexton and Horton Tucker. Because honestly, you're going to have turnovers. That's just going to happen. You're not going to have a 0 turnover night. Especially if you're a ball handler, you're going to turn the ball over. Kelly Olynyk sometimes needs to tighten that tie a little bit. Sometimes it's just too loose. 3 turnovers is kind of a reason why. But let's move on. John Collins has been a steal for the Jazz team. This 3-point percentage is, I think he's shooting 44% for the season. Absolutely bonkers. Some of these numbers will get better. He's playing in isolation a little more for this Jazz team. So you're going to see this not be quite as good as it was with Atlanta, because literally every shot he took was either an open pull-up 3-point shot or a dunk at the rim off of a pick and roll, which he's doing with the Jazz, but he's also running in isolation. We saw him make a couple mid-range pull-ups in isolation tonight. That's pretty exciting that he can do some of those things. And one of the things I really liked, I think it was NBA University, it's called, on Twitter or something like that. They made a mention, and I didn't realize, but John Collins is a pretty decent rim defender. This Jazz team, they're still the 4th worst defense in the NBA, but they've improved from 2nd worst. So that's something. And I think one thing is that John Collins is defending the rim at a pretty decent level. Now that Keyonte George is on the floor, it's going to be interesting how he fits with Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler when Walker Kessler comes back, and how that looks with Keyonte George, because it was kind of a bummer that when Keyonte George gets the start, that's also when they sat Walker Kessler with his elbow injury. So that's something to watch when he comes back. How did things look? My guess is it'll be a little clunkier, but that defense should improve a little bit. But who knows? Keyonte George is playing at such a high level that it may be fine. That's one thing I'm really excited to see, because if that works, then that's big time for the Utah Jazz. Markkanen struggled in this game, and the Jazz still won. That's a big deal. 2 for 9 from 3, so he only shot 22%. This is his worst shooting night of the season so far, and the Jazz win pretty easily. So that is a great sign for this Jazz team that their best player right now, 21 points, 9 rebounds, but his most lethal weapon is his three-point shooting, and he was only 22%, and the Jazz still won with ease. It means this Jazz team is getting better, guys. They're getting better in different ways. They have more players contributing. They're turning the ball over less. They're getting better shots. They're playing unselfish. And I got to say, I know people know how crazy I am over the guy, but I'm going to take my victory laps on this, okay? It all starts with Keyonte George and his ability to move the ball. Before the season started, I think we all thought that this Jazz team has a lot of talent and has a chance to be really good considering what we saw last season, but it depended on the guard play. And to start the year against an absolutely brutal 10-game stretch, that first 10-game stretch for this Jazz team was brutal. Like most teams were going to struggle when you're playing playoff teams every single night. And some of them 3 games and 4 nights, back-to-backs, stuff like that. It's ridiculous what the Jazz started with. But they were also playing with just terrible guard play. Absolutely terrible. THT and Sexton are great scorers. They can move the ball. And who mentioned it? Christian House Money. Sexton had 7 assists tonight, but they're different types of assists. They're like Sexton driving to the basket and then kicking out if he can't make the basket. And you got to give credit to Sexton. He had a good night tonight. I mean, we shouldn't rag on Sexton too much. 7 assists is a big deal. They're just not assists that work within the flow of the offense. They just don't make other players better. It's really more of a bailout assist. And I think everyone kind of knows what I'm talking about. There's a difference between assist, finding someone within the flow of the offense. Will Hardy mentioned it in his post-game interview. If you listen to that, it's pretty good. But he talked a lot about Keyonte and what he's doing and why Keyonte George and Jordan Clarkson and Lauri Markkanen work so well is that Keyonte George finds players within the flow of the offense to give them a good shot within the offensive flow. And that's one thing that Keyonte George is doing. Colin Sexton doesn't really do that. Colin Sexton is a guy that he'll go in isolation, he'll drive to the basket, and if he's able to get the ball to someone who's open, he will try, or he'll still just take the shot. And there's multiple times a game, and I'm watching, I'm sure you guys have seen it too, where you see a guy kind of like, okay, and they pass it to Sexton, and then who knows what's going to happen, There's no clue what's going to happen anytime they touch the ball. But tonight he played well, so you got to give props to Sexton in terms of that. And one thing I do like is that Sexton and THT are actually playing in a role that fits their skill set better. And it should be noted they're playing better. Instead of being forced to be kind of the playmaking point guard that runs the offense, hits guys within the flow, helps set up guys for really good shots and things like that, they're playing sixth men roles where they're isolating against bench players and scoring on them. You're playing against probably an inferior defender that you can score easier on, and that's what they're doing. And that's fine. The Jazz just have too many sixth men, Jordan Clarkson, on this team, he's a starting shooting guard. On a championship team, he's probably a sixth man, right? Colin Sexton, THT, probably sixth man on a really good team. And I'm not even sure Sexton or THT are sixth men on a championship team. Even Jordan Clarkson. Although I think Jordan Clarkson, is that level of player that if he's hot, you keep him on the floor in a playoff game and stuff like that. If not, you pull him. But tonight he was absolutely hot, and those are the games that he helps you win in a big way. Let's see. We talked about Markkanen. So we just mentioned Jordan Clarkson. I think this is easily his best game of the season, most likely, with just his shooting percentages. Look at that. 68% from the field, 44% from 3, 30 points. He had 3 assists, 2 steals, and just 1 turnover. Awesome night from Jordan Clarkson. Fantastic. And like we said, he's averaging 29 points per game since Keyonte George started. In fact, I got to tweet that out. That will do the numbers, okay? But anyways, Jordan Clarkson is benefiting from Keyonte George being on the floor. He's getting better looks. It's finding shots within the flow of the offense. There's just a difference. 7 assists from Colin Sexton is different than 7 assists for Keyonte George. Absolutely. And honestly, this is just going to get more. What's crazy is this is 26 minutes for Keyonte. And Anyways, we're not talking about Keyonte. We're talking about Jordan Clarkson. Just nice to see him do really well. And it looks like he's a little happier. I think Keyonte George is one of those guys you like to be on the floor with because you get better shots and things feel better. You know what's going to happen, you know? It's hard to be on the floor and not know what's going to happen when a certain guy has the ball. Or worse yet, sometimes you don't know what's going to happen, or sometimes you know exactly what's going to happen and you don't like what it's going to be. If it's going to be a drive into like four guys and just throw up a haymaker and hope it lands, that's not great. And players get tired of it. And multiple times, just watch. You'll see a player hesitate to throw in the ball because they know how it goes. There was even one time where Markkanen waved off Sexton to give the ball to Keyonte, and it made my heart sing. It made my heart happy. But that body language is interesting. I don't know what's going to happen at trade deadline. The Jazz have to make some sort of trade. And it doesn't mean you're going to get anything huge for Colin Sexton and Taylor Horton-Tucker. You're not going to get probably anything more than maybe a second-round pick or something like that, and then matching salary. If you're lucky, maybe you get kind of a down-and-out guy that maybe you can kind of, like maybe you trade to the Detroit Pistons and you get like Marvin Bagley and see if maybe he has one last chance to be something, or something like that. Some guy that maybe you bring in that matches salary that you can get off that salary so that there's a little bit more minutes spread around, especially to Keyonte, especially to Jordan Clarkson. You're giving more minutes to Ochai Agbaji, something like that. That's what you've got to do. Or THT, whichever. I think the Jazz would probably be willing to move whichever. In fact, I probably would think they'd probably have an easier time moving THT. We'll see, just because of his physical gifts. He's got just insane reach. It's crazy. But we've already talked about Keyonte George. One last thing, he's starting to really push to shoot the ball. And here's where you get excited. Look who led the team in free throws. The guy has a gift for getting to the line. He did this in 26 minutes. When he gets more and more aggressive, you're going to see this. And look, that's easy money. So even on a night when he's shooting just 44% from the field and 28% from three, the shot's still not quite there. He's still having an efficient night. So 15 points on 9 shots. That's good efficiency. And he can do that night after night. That ability to get to the line is always there. And one of his shots he made was that floater shot. He's got nice touch. So the more he gets into that paint, he's just going to get better, guys. Honestly, he's going to unlock move after move this offseason. I mean, I know it's a ways off, but he's going to work on the shots he needs to improve, and he's going to be even better next year. I mean, it's time to get a little excited about what Keyonte George is doing, even though we've already been excited. We mentioned Kelly Olynyk. Nice Kelly Olynyk turnaround because he had been quietly having a really bad couple games. He had been struggling last 3 games really badly. And so it's nice to see him score 12 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists. He did have 3 turnovers, but that's not too bad in 23 minutes, and he is kind of playmaking. So you'll take it, but nice night for Kelly Olynyk. When he plays well, the Jazz tend to win. They just do. We mentioned Colin Sexton and Taylor Horton-Tucker. To be honest, of these two, I kind of prefer THT. But either way, you've got to give credit to Colin Sexton, who played really well. 13 points for Sexton, 7 assists. Really nice. He had that nice assist to Lauri Markkanen at the end. Pretty fantastic stuff. You love his energy. Finally, Simone Fontecchio got 16 minutes and did not very much with it. What I will say, did any of you catch the Stars game the other day? Taylor Hendricks is starting to show some signs that he might be ready. And another reason that a trade might be nice, and I don't know if this will affect much anyway, but I would like to see some of these Simone Fontecchio minutes go to Taylor Hendricks at some point. Now, I don't know if that means the Jazz are going to do it if things go sideways and they just can't win a game, and then they're just like, well, let's develop Hendricks. But he's looking pretty good. And I don't think it's going to hurt you too much to get him on the floor at some point. Once he gets a little acclimated, gets a little more controlled, and understands what he's doing, that's why the Stars are going to help him. I mean, honestly, like a year ago, he was in high school, or what is it, year and a half? It's crazy how young he is. But once he can come in and start getting acclimated, his defense looks like it's special. And for this Jazz team, who is so bad defensively, they could use it. So That's something to think about. I think everyone would probably agree they'd probably rather see Hendricks before Fontecchio. Fontecchio's ready to go now, but I think pretty soon Hendricks is kind of a clear. At some point, you've got to just say what's the best option. And I think at some point, with what Hendricks brings defensively, his off-ball shot blocking, his weak side shot blocking, I should say, and stuff like that, his isolation on the perimeter. I mean, he's going to be a nice defender for this Jazz team, and he knocks down that three pretty consistently. So that's going to turn out to be a nice pick. I know Keyonte George is getting all the flowers, and he should, but Hendricks is looking nice. And you know who else looks really nice? Bryce Sensabaugh. He had what did he have that first game? It was like 38-8. And then the next game, they blow out the G League Ignite. Don't look at the score tonight. The Stars got blown out tonight on a back-to-back. But against the G League Ignite, he detonated them and didn't even play the fourth quarter, and he has like 5 rebounds, 5 assists. All of a sudden, the Jazz are looking like they've got 2 other rookies that may be pushing for more minutes, and that is going to be fun to watch. I tell you what, they're both big too. That's the other thing you're going to have to note. You're going to have to take into account with this Jazz team. Colin Sexton is not very big. And it's becoming pretty clear in this league when you look at teams like the Lakers, when you look at the Nuggets, just how huge they are at every position, where, you know, your smallest guy is Jamal Murray, 6'4", and he's a special guard. Everyone else is like 6'6", 6'10", you know, size, athleticism all over the floor. You look at the Boston Celtics. They have 2 elite defensive guards, but they've got just size at every position. It's just kind of a requirement. And so Keyonte George is like 6'4". He's actually pretty big. He's like Steph size. It's like Steph where you're like, you don't realize that he's 6'4". He's actually pretty big. And that he's going to be the smallest guy on the floor in the future for this Utah team. Because at no point do you want someone smaller than that. You can't handle it. How do you guard the Michael Porter Juniors and the what's his name? Just these big players on the floor that will absolutely crush you if you are 6 foot tall. It's just a different league. You can't be that small and succeed. And so you've just got to get size. And that's what the Jazz are doing. Bryce Sensabaugh is like 6'5". Taylor Hendricks looks pretty big. I mean, he's so skinny, but he actually has nice size. And he's like 6'10". And so you have him, and if he can switch between 3 and 5 on defense, how impressive and cool would that be? Is if you have Hendricks on the floor, I mean, there might be a lineup the Jazz throw out there just for fun that has Lauri Markkanen at the 2, and you just have size everywhere and guys that can switch, and you just have shot blockers at every position. This Jazz team is going to be so versatile. It's really fun. It's exciting. It's exciting to think about. What if Bryce Sensabaugh is really good? And they got him at 28. He was supposed to go 20, and the Jazz get him at 28. I'm excited. I'm excited. So those are just things to be watching. And I don't know if the Jazz at some point just decide that they've got to make a move. Guys, by the way, is it quiet? I had an update to OBS, and it looked like it made my sound a little quieter. In fact, we're live. I don't care. I got to fix this a little bit. We just got to make sure this sounds better for you guys. I guess let's move up the gain a little bit. There we go. All right, that's a little better. Can you hear me a little better? Good. So, anyways, I think that's pretty much everything I had to say on this one. I want to watch Taylor Hendricks with this Jazz team. It's going to be fun, and I want to see it. It's going to look nice. So, by the way, thank you for all the donations tonight. You guys are incredible. I really appreciate it. It's been kind of a crazy month for me. And 2 new rookies tonight, Diego and Ben. Thank you so much. Car Wash Channel. If you need Car Wash Channel, send me write a comment on here, or if you want, go on Twitter. It's @HansonJames. Send me a DM. I'll send you the link to join the channel. And by the way, guys, if you could go to This Is Now podcast. I prefer doing this because it's more fun, and go to the YouTube channel. But if you want to also just have it as a podcast and listen to it afterwards, just the audio, go to Apple Podcasts, go to Spotify. It's on there. And if you could go and put a review, put 5 stars, that would be amazing. And write something out, that would be amazing. If you're a podcast listener. So go search it out. It helps. Even if you just subscribe and you just get the download, it helps. So I would appreciate that. And also, if you haven't already, go to Prize Picks and sign up. All right, let's give a shout out to the All-Stars tonight. Ryan Perry, the legend, coming in hot. Let's see. Let's get... There we go. Guys, it's been just a fun season so far, and I personally think that this Jazz team is just going to continue to get better. The schedule just gets easier and easier and easier. All right, so let's give a shout out to the All-Stars. These are the ones at the top tier of the membership that have been supporting the channel for the longest time. Thank you guys, I appreciate it. Let's give a shout out to Ryan Perry, the legend, Ezekiel Raicibe, the man from down under, yes, Jake C. Can, Christian House, Money to Haas, See ya, Lexalator, Built for Tough, Alexander Tubbs, Jorge Arrizaga, mi amigo de abajo, Jordan the Goat, Best Roll, TGD, Total Game Domination, Tyson Price, The Price is Right, Austin R. Grant, Editor Extraordinaire, DW, the CB Darren Williams, to Carlos Boozer, Patrick Kubel, the Connoisseur, and Robert, Hall of Fame. Guys, this has been a blast. This Jazz team is a lot of fun, and Keyonte George has changed this team. It's a new team. It's a different team. And it's going to get better and better. The schedule gets easier, and maybe, just maybe, we win the in-season tournament and pay our players more. By the way, I thought the court looked really nice, and the uniforms are really slick. Like I said, guys, like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will talk to you next time.